Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Donald Trump has reauthorized ICE raids on farms, on hotels, and on meatpacking factories, which kind of tells you that there's been a lot of information that's been circling around. I don't know what is true and what's not, but we do know that Donald Trump did go out there and say that, something needs to be done if we have these worker shortages, which is kind of something that he's been consistent about. But what he has also been consistent about has been we need to deport every single illegal alien. So I don't know if this was base pressure that was effective, which, by the way, on most other politicians would not work, but Donald Trump is different in that regard, or if it was the fact that the emails that were sent around were kind of full of, I guess you would say, misinformation of sorts. But regardless, it doesn't matter because Donald Trump is re-okaying these raids on these factories, these establishments, which is important. Because the problem is these corporations have been getting away with hiring illegals and undercutting wages for certain jobs. And they shouldn't be able to get away with that. They should be hiring Americans. If there's actually a worker shortage, temporary in limited numbers and very limited numbers and very temporary work visas are somewhat understandable. But still, I would rather have a program that gets Americans to do those jobs first and foremost, because in a lot of cases, the Americans would do the jobs, but you kind of have this, whole thing going on where their wages for the jobs have been depressed significantly. But ICE agents are continuing these raids. So a lot of people that like to jump on this stuff and panic. And I said at the time that if this is something that Trump's going to go through with, that it would be a stain on his legacy and it would be a bad thing and he would lose support. All the people that like to panic over every little thing so they can feel vindicated and feel good about themselves, they end up with more egg on their face. And it gets even better in regards to the immigration data we have coming out this week. This report here, 0 illegal aliens came to the United States last month when 64,000 flooded in under Biden. So they're able to catch everybody that's coming across the southern border. You're not having this massive border crisis, and you have 0 illegals pouring in when you had 64,000. And that was like a good month under Biden compared to certain other months when you had hundreds of thousands that were pouring in. But now you have absolutely 0, which is just massive, a massive victory in that department. And on top of it, the U.S. may have net negative migration in 2025. Trump's ordering ICE to double down raids in Democrat cities, and the border policies are working, and more than 1 million foreign-born workers are no longer employed, which means that people that are upset about the deportation numbers, again, a lot of people are self-deporting. And like I said this at the beginning of Trump's presidency, if you just deport forcibly a couple million, the rest are probably going to leave on their own. And more than 1 million have left on their own. And you saw this trend under the Biden administration where the native-born Americans got no jobs, but the foreign-born workers, a lot of which were illegal, they were getting all the jobs. It was all inflated. And the economy was working for them. It was not working for the average voter, which is why people didn't buy the nonsensical economic data, some of which was actually inflated according to Biden's Department of Labor. But that's not really the point. The main takeaway here is that you're seeing mass deportations. The economy is going to improve for Americans as a result. And a lot of that has to do with Donald Trump's just rhetoric. That's why people aren't crossing the border. These well-publicized deportations, they're causing other people to leave on their own because, you don't want to have to be forcibly removed. You're going to have a much lesser chance of being able to make it back in. If that's the case anyways, if you're, thinking about it from their perspective. So they're just going to leave, which makes sense. And now the U.S. could have net negative migration, which is absolutely huge. And of course, they're freaking out about this, and all the experts that have been wrong about so many things are now saying, well, economic growth is going to go down and inflation's going to go up, even though inflation is cooling as this is happening. Growth projections are going way up. These people have been wrong about everything. They're very likely wrong about this. So on immigration, Donald Trump taking plenty of victories, and a lot of people that like to freak out over every little thing, they're not exactly doing so well in that department. So now they're changing and shifting gears to foreign policy. You could look at this here. Donald Trump is being tough on Iran. He is now saying that they should have signed the deal that he told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life, he says. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. He is saying that he potentially could strike them because they're not signing the deal that he told them to sign. They're not cooperating. And Donald Trump has been consistent about this. People are saying that he's like turning into some sort of neocon because he's saying that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. Even Russia, which is, vaguely allied with Iran, it doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. It's not a popular position for anybody to take. Now, on the other hand, we don't want endless war. We saw what happened with the lies of weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East, and we saw what happened there. We had an endless war. We were in the Middle East for so long because of it, and we didn't really get anything out of it, and that's a major problem. So Donald Trump's foreign policy is not one of war. It is not one of putting boots on the ground for regime change wars. It's also never been like an isolationist foreign policy or a non-interventionist foreign policy, but he has this tendency to kind of threaten people and be unpredictable, and it's worked out. And he struck Iran actually in his first term, but it didn't lead to war with Iran despite him taking out one of their top generals. It definitely inflamed some tensions, but you didn't see a war break out then. And they were possibly on the verge of coming to the table even, but then Trump goes out and then Biden becomes president, and then Iran all of a sudden has money to fund terrorists, and then you see this whole conflict in Israel with Gaza and all that stuff. It's just kind of a thing where all these different players are intertwined and connected, and it's a big mess. And Donald Trump is trying to clean it up. And at this stage in the game, he's taking an approach where he's being a little unpredictable. He threatened to bomb Moscow in his first term if Putin went into Ukraine. He didn't go into Ukraine until Biden was in office. I wonder why. So when you see things like this is what he's trying to do. Yeah, he'll have some rhetoric that's kind of along the lines of somebody who is a warmonger, but at the end of the day, the end goal is really what matters. He's able to scare people. He's able to be unpredictable. People don't know what's going on, but it usually ends up panning out. It usually brings people to the negotiation table. That's what it is, and this is the 80-20 position on this. Prevent Iran from getting a nuke without putting boots on the ground, and that's Trump's position. And you could look at this here. This poll, 86% say Iran should not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. On the other hand, you could look at this, and it shows that 60% say the U.S. military should not get involved in the conflict. So when you look at this, people want to strike that balance. Donald Trump wants to strike the balance. It's called peace through strength. You cannot have liberty without order. I tell that to the libertarians all the time. You can't have a nation if you don't have a border. A wide open border, you don't have a country. We saw that. And you also cannot have peace without strength. With Donald Trump, you get strong leadership. These other people, they're very weak leaders. In the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, over the past 50 years of this country, by and large, with few exception, has had a lot of weak leaders. Donald Trump is not weak. He's somebody who wants to strike deals. He's somebody who wants peace through strength. If you look at his track record in the Middle East in term one, he is somebody that was able to strike deals. You had the Abraham Accords, and obviously Biden chose not to enforce them for one reason or another because Biden didn't even know what year it was, but that's not entirely the point. The bottom line remains that you have a leader who wants deals to be made. He doesn't want to get wrapped up in conflicts. He's somebody who ran against the uniparty establishment, people that automatically are just wish casting him to become George Bush for one reason or another. And I'm sure you have people on both sides of this debate that want that to happen. You'll have the neocons who will want to go to war with Iran. They're just like foaming at the mouth about that. People like Lindsey Graham. And then you have a bunch of other people who are grifting off of the notion of, oh, Donald Trump is weak because he, happens to not hate the state of Israel or something like that. And that's just not exactly something that is a position that Donald Trump is going to take. The average American does not support Iran. They don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. They also don't want endless wars. There's only one individual, in my opinion, who really can strike that balance well. And thankfully, he's the president of the United States. Donald Trump is somebody that's talked Israel out of more extreme measures with Iran. He's somebody that understands the pragmatism. Somebody like a Jeb Bush or George Bush probably would have said, no, we're going to join the war. We're going to take out the leader himself. And Donald Trump is still going to threaten that here and there because he understands that he has to. He understands that if these people are not coming to the table and they're not signing the deal, which would be a good deal for them, it would normalize relations. If they're not going to do that, well, guess what? You're going to have problems. And if he's able to go out there and make that clear, well, you're going to see what's going to happen. But usually it's going to end up with, oh, these people are going to come to the table. You're not going to have this endless regime change war in Iran because Donald Trump doesn't support it. And it technically, yeah, would be a stain on his legacy. So he's striking the balance there, and he's not caving on immigration. So the plan trusters take the victory for now. The panicans take more L's, and they probably will take a lot more. And I don't know how they're not going to be exhausted by the end of the year, let alone the end of Trump's presidency. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.